أهلا وسهلا بكم أعزائي المشاهدين، ورمضان كريم عليكم جميعا. حلقة جديدة من برنامج ريد زون الذي يبث بشكل حصري عبر موقع جولمكس. وضيف مهم لحلقة هذا اليوم المدرب جواد الجبوري، مدرب نادي AFC اسكتستانا. We are very happy to have you here with us.
Thank you. I'm happy to have been able to join.
So tell us about yourself. Who is Jawad and your family and your origins from Iraq?
So my name is Mohammed Jawad Al-Jaburi. I come from Kadmiya in Iraq, Baghdad. I work in Sweden, came here when I was only 1 year old and work in football in the club AFC Eskilstuna, like you mentioned. I'm the head coach and sporting director of the club.
How did your journey begin into the football world, and how did you have the idea of coaching rather than maybe playing? Because as we can see, you're a very young coach.
Well, when I was 15, I realized quite early that it's going to be difficult for myself to become a professional football player. I wasn't good enough. I didn't start early enough to have the chance. So I decided to try in a different path, and I joined a club called Djurgårdens EF, a big club in Sweden, in Stockholm. And I went there for an interview, and they signed me for their 10-year-olds. And since then, I've just been kept going.
At what age did that happen?
When I was 15.
So when you were 15 years old, you coached 10-year-olds.
Yeah, so they were only 5 years younger than me. And I coached the team for 3 years.
After that, let's talk about the full journey. After that, what happened?
So they had like a principle in that club where the coach in those teams should not stay for longer than 3 years, so that they can experience a different coach, also not the same all the way. Then the club asked me if I wanted to start over with their 11-year-olds at that time, when my team became 13 years old. I declined the offer and went to another club named Spånga, more local club for me, and went on to coach their 15-year-olds instead. And I stayed there also for approximately 3 years when they become first year juniors. From there, I got headhunted by this club, AFC Eskilstuna, 2012. At the time, I was 21 years old, and they wanted me to coach their 15-year-olds at that year. And since then, I've just been kept working and climbing my way up in the club.
What are the best characteristics that you like to see in the players?
I would like to see players that like to work hard, that are self-driven, don't need someone to always remind them the important principles of becoming a professional football player, that have the desire to succeed themselves. They take care of everything outside the pitch, with the nutrition and the sleep, keeping professional, focusing on the game, that have a lot of self-discipline. Those are the characteristics that I mostly appreciate.
What is your ambition at the moment, and what is your goal for the future?
My ambition for the moment is to keep developing players. We've been one of the top clubs in this country with producing players for other clubs in the system. We're selling a lot of players up to the top league and even abroad. And to just keep on doing that. And for the season, hopefully we can do something good at the same time. My own ambitions for the future is to always, of course, develop in my own knowledge. And then we see. Mostly I need to focus on where I am more than where I can be and go. Then it's easy to lose focus when you do that. So just try to work hard on the place that you're at and then see where it takes you.
Have you received offers to coach other clubs?
I have received loose offers, not so concrete, because they know I am at a club and I am very loyal to my club. So there have been like discussions and talks, but none has approached me with a concrete offer. So yeah.
And is that the reason why you chose to continue with Skutistana?
The reason why I chose to continue is because I feel I'm not done with my objective here. I want to build this club, make it even bigger, to be one of the bigger clubs in the country, to stay in the top league. So first we have to get promoted, and then we have to also stay there and build the foundation for this club to stick in that league for the future. When I feel that I have done that, then I probably feel that I can move on.
Last season, you had a fairly good season. The start was very good, but towards, let's say, the middle and the end of the season, the results were not as good as the beginning, and the club, I think, ended up being in the middle of the table. I don't remember which position in the table exactly, but towards the middle, I think. What were the problems and the difficulties that you faced during last season?
So with this club, as I mentioned before, we work with developing players and also try to sell them. We experienced already some injuries that affected us on the pitch. But then also when we came to the summer, we had offers on some of our players, and one of them was Amar Mushin, and we had to sell him further so that we could also follow the goal of the club to sell players and become a bigger club in that way, financially also. So that was one of the key aspects that affected us. We lost our best goal scorer, the top goal scorer of the league. So that, together with some injuries, definitely affected our form.
Tell me about your preparations for the new season.
We had basically like 65% new players, like I think 14 new players this year. We have almost lost all our players from last year's starting 11. So there has been some challenges to get the players to know each other on the pitch, find each other, find some chemistry, build a new style of play, how to defend, how to attack, and make sure that everyone understands those things. Results have been up and down in pre-season, but hopefully that we can be prepared for the league when it starts, to get a good start like last year.
What is the ambition for this season?
Ambitions is always to end up as high as possible in the league table. The best would obviously be if we got promoted. That would be very good for all of us. But we start with taking one step at a time. First step being that we take enough points so that we know we are at least staying in the league. Then when we have done that, we'll see how many games is left and if we can play for something even bigger. So that's how we will start.
Tell me about both Ammar Mohsen and Andre El Snouty. And since you coached them, you maybe know them the best out of everyone. Tell me about them. Tell me about them inside the pitch and outside the pitch, and your opinion regarding those two players.
Those two are two of the best, both people, characters, players that I've worked with. fantastic human beings, very good principles in life, hardworking, loyal, and definitely they deserve what has come to them. They have skill, they have talent, but most of all, they do the hard work. They really want, to succeed, and that's why they also have done that.
Do you think that Ammar deserves to be in the last call-up list for the national team, for the Iraqi national team?
For me, there is no doubt about that. He's definitely one of the top finishers in this country, and I think that if you're that good in this country, you definitely deserve to be able to play in the national team. For me, he's in a class of his own on finishing and scoring.
Are there any new Iraqi players in the club this season?
No, not this year.
How do you find the level of football in Sweden? What is the difference between Swedish football and Iraqi football, in your opinion? Maybe you have not coached or you're not very much familiar with Iraqi football, but out of just watching and seeing the national team and the league, what do you think the differences are?
So, from the knowledge that I have read and get to know, that I find out, is that the difference is the education in the league and in the teams. What is important, the foundations of what is important to become a good football player. Everything around the game, with nutrition and training and recovery and all those stuff. What I've understood is not on a good level, and the players there haven't really understood what is really demanded from you as a football player and required. I think that is something that needs to become better. I think also organization-wise, how to build an organization that is working, everything around the team for the players. So it goes hand in hand. So like a lot of responsibility both on the club, the staff, but also on the players. Then if they would have more education in those stuff, then they would probably be a lot better. But as I understand, they're still very primitive in those stuff.
There are many Iraqi players in Sweden. Who do you think will reach a very high level and succeed? Meaning that he can make the difference or play in a top league or top league.
I think both Aymar Sher is a good player and Kevin Yakub. I think those two are good players. We have also, of course, Amir Al-Amari, that is also a good player.
But which is now in DC.
Definitely Mohamed. He has had a long journey to come where he is at. He haven't had it easy. If he had gotten the right opportunities in an earlier age, then probably he would become even better. But those I mentioned are also younger than him. That's why I chose them. But definitely Mohamed is a very good player and deserves everything that has come to him and even more.
Did you watch the national team in the Gulf Cup, the Iraqi national team?
No, I didn't watch it because for me, I don't rate this cup so much. I want to see the national team like in the early days where they excelled in the Asian Cup, which is the tournament I think the Iraqi national team should be a good competitor for and come a long way in. And hopefully also, inshallah, we can see them in the future to reach the World Cup stage also. Those are more important.
Do you think that is possible in 2026 with the current mix of Iraqi expatriate players who play in Europe and the players from the local league that we have the national team reach maybe a high place in the Asian Cup and in a good position in the World Cup, maybe we're qualifying to the World Cup.
As I have understood, we have a great staff around the national team now, with a lot of European experience and top national team experience. So that definitely is speaking for us that we can do something good. But still, this is not something that will be done over just a couple of years. This is something that has to be done at a grassroots level in the Iraqi country, where the most players will come from and the most players should come from. They should work a lot for the education of the people who work there, so that they, from early age, for the players there, can educate them and develop them, so that we, in long term, in the future, will have even stronger team. Of course, they have done good in this time that they have been there, the staff around the national team today, but they cannot do miracles if they don't have the right resources and the right players to do it with.
Yes. So I also want to ask you, since you mentioned the staff, what do you think of Jesus Casas, the national team manager, coach, and his assistant staff? Some people dislike the fact that Casas never worked as a head coach or a head manager. He spent all of his career working as a analyzer or an assistant. And his staff also, they do not have the big experience in big teams. So how do you think about the situation, and can that really impact positively or negatively on their work in the national team?
I think it can be positive. It's a coach who will have a lot of energy, a lot of ambition, a lot of drive to do something good with this. Also for his individual career, to show the world that he can do something good. Definitely, I think it's always better to have ambitious and self-driven people, more than people who have already done maybe a lot in their career but will come with no desire to achieve anything. I rather have people who have ambitions and desire to help this national team to do something good. So I think that is not a reason to doubt the knowledge of these people. Definitely not. I think we should be happy that we have this kind of experience that they have in our team.
Coaching the national team, what do you think about this idea? And do you have such a thought in your head that maybe one day you can coach your home country?
Definitely, it has been a dream since I was young, that coaching the Iraqi national team is one of the biggest things I can do. For me, it's a big pride in it to do it. But if I should do it in the future, I would only do it if I can feel that we can do something extremely good together. I'm not gonna only do it just to be there and have my name on there if I don't really feel that we can do something really big together. But also, I think that in the future, hopefully, the national league in Iraq and the academies and all the people around the sport will hopefully help develop even better players for the future, because that is something that is still very important.
Regarding the Iraqi local league, I don't know if you follow, but is there any club that you support or lean towards?
No, not any club. No.
If there is an opportunity to coach in the Iraqi Premier League, would you accept?
Depends on what they can offer, in the sense of how the organization looks, how is everything built around the club, what ambitions does the club have, and those stuff is very important. If there is a long-term idea of how to do something good in this club.
What are the main negatives in the Iraqi league, in your opinion, that should be fixed or developed?
So my own knowledge is very little about the league, but
Yeah.
I can only speak from what I've heard and read. And things should be handled much more professionally and organized there. So that's basically what I have understood, that it should be driven more as a professional football club. It's very important.
From watching the national team or maybe hearing about the league, is there any player who plays in the national team or does not play in the national team who's from the Iraqi local league that you think deserves to play in Europe or in Sweden?
I have no idea really about this. I don't have that good insight.
So I asked you earlier about Ammar Mohsen, and I don't know if you know this, but he's currently not in the squad for the upcoming FIFA Day matches for the Iraqi national team. Do you think that that was a wrong decision by the coaching staff?
Yes, because this is a player who is a specialist in the area inside the penalty box. If you use him right and you know how to use him, then definitely you'll understand how important he will be. He's a player who will take care of the chances that he gets inside the box, who will score the goals, and that is something that is valued very, very high. Because the most difficult thing in football is to score goals, and that's something he is a specialist of. So definitely, I think there should always be a place for him.
We have a few quick questions. Who is your favorite Iraqi player in Sweden?
My favorite Iraqi player in Sweden is definitely Andrea Al-Sanati. I think he's a quality player, super talented, extreme qualities with handling the ball, being creative, opening spaces for teammates, creating chances for his teammates. He's definitely a player who can open up defenses who are low and help the team in the last third. So for me, he's the best.
The best Iraqi player right now, in general.
Difficult for me to say, really, because it's difficult to compare the players that is abroad and here in the country. It's difficult for me to say, really.
Maybe Zidane Iqbal, since he plays in Manchester United, or do you think that playing in Manchester United is not like always the criteria for?
He is not a regular first team player, so it's difficult to judge him by that because we can't see him play. But as I understood, there is a defender, I think maybe in the Portuguese league or the Belgian league, that doesn't play for our national team, that plays for their national team.
Yeah, Amin Al-Dakhil, who plays in Belgium, and right now he moved to the Championship.
Yeah,
Yesterday they played against Manchester City.
exactly. So that's a player who definitely we should work for getting to our national
He
team.
plays for Burnley right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see the different level, because if he plays, then regularly it's better than not to play, even if you belong to a big club.
A player who is not called up to the national team and you think deserves to be in the national team.
That must be Ammar Mohsen, as we have explained before.
Yeah. A player you expect a great future for with the national team.
Andrea Sanati, definitely. He's still very young, and with the years coming, I think he will develop even more and become an important player for our national team. For me, just like I remembered, for example, Nashat Akram was for our team, I think Andrea Sanati can be that next player.
Maybe you don't follow much, but the best Iraqi coach currently in the scene.
In the league.
Could be in the league, outside the league, any Iraqi.
In the world.
In the world.
I choose myself.
Okay. I would like to thank you very much for being with us and accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much.
أعزائي المشاهدين، إلى هنا وصلنا لنهاية هذه الحلقة. كان معنا المدرب جواد الجبوري من السويد. طبعا نشكركم على حسن المتابعة، ونشكر ضيفنا على قبوله الدعوة ومشاركته معنا في البرنامج. إلى اللقاء.